All right, let's talk about this single biggest case of mass hypnosis in tech history. I'm talking about the black hole that's been staring back at you from your phone screen for years, the Notch. Today, we're going to unpack the story of how Apple sold an engineering failure as a feature, and how the whole world just went along with it.
There's a term for this, Stockholm Syndrome. It's what happens when you're held hostage for so long that you start to fall in love with your captor. Or, in this case, when you fall in love with the brand that holds your user experience hostage with a fundamentally flawed design. It's brilliant, really, and a little terrifying. So let's rewind to the scene of the crime. 2017. Apple unveils this ugly, symmetry-killing black bar at the top of their flagship phone, and with a completely straight face, they dared to call it an iconic design. Iconic? It was a compromise, a flaw, a black stain on what was supposed to be a perfect edge-to-edge screen.
Just think about this for a second. Can you imagine an engineer walking into Steve Jobs' office with this thing? A man who is absolutely obsessed with seamless perfection, with flawless, uninterrupted lines. He would have fired everyone in the room. This wasn't a feature. It was proof that the engineering team had given up. This right here tells the whole story. On one side, you have the old Apple philosophy: push technology to its limits to achieve perfect design. On the other side, the new philosophy: we can't figure out how to get the Face ID sensors under the display. The solution? Whatever, just cut a piece out of the screen. They'll buy it anyway. And the worst part is, they were right.
Let's be perfectly clear. The Notch is not design evolution. It's not a choice. It is the physical embodiment of engineering laziness. It's a missed deadline staring you in the face every single time you watch a video. They literally sold you a defective screen and had the nerve to call it a revolution. And then, in 2021, Apple proudly announced their next great innovation. They made the Notch 20% smaller. Wow, thank you so much. It's like a waiter spitting in your food, and when you complain, he comes back and says, "Good news, sir, this time I only spat a little bit." And we're supposed to applaud them for this? For slightly reducing a flaw that shouldn't have been there in the first place?
But here's the truly tragic part of this whole story. While Apple was getting lazy, the rest of the industry was going wild. For a brief, beautiful moment in 2018 and 2019, we saw this explosion of what I can only call engineering madness, as other companies went to incredible lengths to give us what we actually wanted: a true, full-screen phone. I mean, look at this stuff. We had phones with periscope cameras that popped up out of the top like a tiny submarine. We had entire phones that would mechanically slide open. Samsung made a camera that literally did a somersault to flip from the back to the front. It was ambitious, it was futuristic, it was cool. These weren't just phones. They made you feel like you were living in the future. And just as fast as it started, it all died. That entire beautiful branch of creative engineering just withered away. Why? Because every other company watched as Apple sold millions upon millions of phones with a big chunk missing from the screen. They saw people lining up for blocks to buy a compromised product. And you can just imagine the conversations happening in boardrooms around the world. The finance guys walked into the engineering labs and said, "Hey, all that cool, expensive mechanical stuff you're working on, scrap it. Don't bother. Apple proved you can just drill a hole in the screen and the customer is totally fine with it." So Apple didn't just compromise their own phone, they killed the entire industry's imagination. Which brings us to today, and to what might be the absolute pinnacle of corporate deception, the masterstroke of marketing spin. I'm talking, of course, about the Dynamic Island, the Mona Lisa of scams. I mean, the genius of it is almost admirable. Here's the plan. Step 1, completely fail to solve the actual hardware problem of putting the camera under the screen. Step 2, get your software team to draw some pretty animations around the big, ugly hole. Step 3, invent a ridiculously cool-sounding name for it, like Dynamic Island. And Step 4, market the cover-up as the phone's biggest new feature. It's a marketing team's dream come true. Let's not get it twisted. It is a dead space. It's a chunk of your screen with no pixels that you cannot touch. It's a permanent obstruction, a truck parked in the middle of your digital highway. Calling it an island doesn't magically make it a tropical paradise. It's still just a hole, but now it's a hole that wiggles. Oh, I love Apple's marketing. They call it a magnificent dance of hardware and software. So poetic. But let's call it what it really is: a clever bit of eye-deceiving magic designed to distract you from the flaw long enough to empty your wallet. So it's time to wake up. It's time to see past all the smoke and mirrors, all the fancy names and slick animations. It's time to admit that the king is, in fact, naked. So let's just be crystal clear about this. The notch was never a design choice. It was a technical necessity born from failure. Its persistence for all those years wasn't a sign of stable design. It was a sign of pure stubbornness. And the dynamic island? It's not a solution. It's the most beautiful, elegant cover-up I have ever seen. So, if you're one of those people who genuinely loves the notch or the dynamic island, well, congratulations. The conditioning is complete. Your brain has been successfully formatted to see a black stain and call it a feature. It proves that Apple doesn't just own the phone in your pocket, it owns your very perception of reality. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you know the story, are you going to keep calling that black hole on your screen a feature? Your call. Now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That is, if you can find it around the giant island in the way. And hey, if you can't, don't blame yourself. Blame Apple.